whatever it is. The next best option would be a one-on-one, right? Those are really good too. Okay. Next, what's probably more likely on the football field for us is going to be some kind of two-on-one, right? They got two, we got one, or they got three and we got two, and now we're playing a game. Timing and location, that's what's critical in any of those situations. If it's one-on-one, don't miss. Pretty simple, right? If it's one-on-one, now you're talking about throwing a guy open. Where is the defender? Right? Where is the receiver? Where can the ball go? That's a talent issue. That's an accuracy issue, which can be worked on. It's a fundamental issue. When you get into those games that we're playing a lot of the time, right, where it's a little bit more complicated, we're trying to play 2-on-2, 2-on-1, whatever it is, timing and location are critical, but that timing aspect, it has to be simple. How quickly can we shrink the field to one guy for the quarterback? So the goal right now in everything we're doing is to try to create conviction in his process. When he has conviction in his process, when Alex has conviction in his process, when Joe has conviction in his process, they make great decisions, right? And they throw good balls. And it's pretty simple. Getting there, very difficult, right? But that's the goal right now.
Are you seeing some improvement in that headspace for all those guys?
Yeah, on a daily basis, yes. But I think we need to continue to improve. The hardest part of coaching is nothing's ever good enough, no matter what, right? It's not good enough. We can be faster. We can be faster. And the goal right now is to every day go out there and do what we're doing, but do it faster. Do it faster and more efficiently.
You talked about depth. Last season, you kind of had a feature back with Tyler Goodson, but this year, I mean, with the Williams and Devin, definitely could be a lot more by committee. What are your plans with the Renegade now?
I mean, I think there's opportunity for everybody, right? If we're playing good football, we're going to be carrying the ball 30 times a game. No back is going to do that a lot. The last guy I remember taking a bunch of carries like that consistently was Mark Wiseman. I think we did it in 2013. I think it was 2 or 3 games in a row he carried the ball over 30 times, and then we didn't see him for about 4 weeks. So I don't know if that's good coaching. So the goal is we want to be playing as many guys as possible. I've never had an issue in my life where we said we had too many good players. We had too many good backs. We can't play them all. We got too many good receivers. We can't play them all. We got too many good tackles. Can't play them all. Too many good center. It's never an issue, right? So the more the merrier. But the idea is, I always struggle with that. Me personally, it's probably a better question for Liddell. We talk about that a lot. Back rotations, I'm not good at. Usually, to me, it's hot hand goes, unless we have some situational stuff going. So hopefully, we got a lot of hot hands. They make it hard on us, and they're all mad they don't have the ball.
Coach, can you talk about your relationship with Tony Racioppi and how do you guys communicate just on Spencer? And obviously, you guys are working with him at different times of the year.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you, I would like to think that one of my strengths, I don't know if it's true, I try to be humble, right? And I try to know what I don't know. And I think Tony, when you're talking about throwing the football fundamentally, biomechanically, really respect his knowledge and respect his ability to teach and the simplicity of how he teaches. I really admire it. So I've had a chance to visit with him out there. Okay, we keep in contact on the phone. And really, our guys wouldn't be going other places if we weren't comfortable with the instruction they're receiving. And what I really appreciate about Tony, outside of his football acumen, is the fact that he's very upfront about, hey, look, I'm here to help this guy throw the football. I'm not here to tell him how to run the offense. I don't know your guys' offense. I'm not trying to get into that lane. I'm trying to stay in mine. But I really like Tony. And on a personal level, I really like him. That's part of the relationship. It's easy to work with people you like. I find him very enjoyable.
What about John Budmeyer? Do you guys work with?
Yeah, same thing. So always good to have more voices
right
in the building, period. But again, when it comes to this position, like I said, I'm humble enough to know what I don't know. And I want to surround myself or talk to people that I consider to be experts in that field. And John's another one of those guys I think has tremendous expertise. Really value his input. And again, people that you like, it's easy to spend time with. So I happen to like him as well, too. Don't tell him.
Brian, what's been the challenge with all the receiving injuries with the spring and even now? I mean, what are the challenges of trying to simplify the passing game as well? The quarterbacks make advancements, but again, there's so many fresh, bodies in and out of the receiving.
It's normal. Those aren't things you worry about, right? So the world doesn't care. That's been my general experience in life. I think the misconception is that things will be easy, right? Life's a constant struggle. That's just how it works. So I try not to ever expect things to go right or be exactly where you want them to be. That way I'm really not ever disappointed by it. So we have guys in and out. That's normal, though. right? That's normal, especially at that position. You're going to deal with soft tissue things. Guys are going to get nicked up. We're going to be missing a guy here, missing a guy there. And it's going to happen in the course of the season too. So obviously, if you're down a body at receiver, maybe put some pressure on that room. But you know what? It's an opportunity for other guys in that room to push ahead and demonstrate that they can do it. It's also an opportunity for guys in other rooms, tight ends, right? Running backs to demonstrate, all right, hey, we're going to put you out here and do this with you today. So I tend to look at it as an opportunity for more guys to learn and get reps. And I think what we're trying to get done right now in the passing game is understand that it's not about an individual matchup. It's about 5 to 6 guys, including the quarterback, 11, including the line, working together to affect the defense with any kind of timing. That's going to help everything. And you don't need this guy or that guy. Sure. You need whoever's available, go in there and do their job. It's really that simple.
Coach, you've been very open about your process and your self-scouting and your self-reflection. In looking ahead to this year, how are you more confident in your own abilities to put this offense in a better spot based on what you can control?
Sure. Well, self-scout and reflection starts with you. So you go through everything, right? If you don't have the results you want, which we did not, first of all, you have to see the world as it is, not as you'd like it to be, right? So start there. Harder than it sounds for everybody, right? I talked to Chad about this in the summer. Your first reaction is to blame others. Well, this happened. Or, look, we control what we control. I think we can get a lot better. And the idea was to look at everything we did top to bottom and find ways to increase its effectiveness and its efficiency. It's really, that's all it is, right? And that includes me as a play caller. So the idea is this year, right? And I distinctly remember, as a quick aside, standing somewhere over there 5 or 6 years ago, and Chad asked me something about becoming a play caller. It was before 2017. And I said, one of the things I worry about the most is I know that I'll be better at my job next year than I am right now. And I still feel that way, right? I still feel that way. So there are situations that come up. There are things that happen on the practice field every day that I handle better and differently than I did last year or 6 years ago. So the idea is, right, can I get a little bit better at my job? If we're asking to suck efficiency and effectiveness out of everybody, right, it starts with me. So looked at everything we did and just trying to move forward in a way that, does a better job of using our strengths, utilizing our strengths, regardless of the situation, to try to just do our simple job of advancing the football and scoring.
I'm sure someone's asked you about quarterback, but
sure, come again.
The three guys, how would you handicap how the 3 guys have done through 9 practices thus far? Is it kind of 1, 2, 3, Petrus, Padilla, Labus, as you would expect, or?
I would say right now that it's about what I expect from this standpoint. They're working very hard to improve and do the things we ask. With the quarterback position, the evaluation is simple. Everything is always an open competition. There's very few incumbents. I mentioned Tyler Linderbaum with the last question because he was truly an incumbent. That would be the last one I really remember on our offense. And we've had others. But with every other position, it's open. Some guys have more ground to cover to affect the depth chart. But there's always, we're going to play the best guys. And that comes down to who can do your job the best. If you're a quarterback, okay, secure the snap, run or pass, and then make sure we get into a good run and the back has the ball and he has it deep enough to do his job, or get the ball to the open guy. Sounds very simple. Obviously, it's a little harder than that, but at the end of the day, that's their job. And the guys that can consistently demonstrate the ability to do their job well, those are going to be the guys that we go with. What I'm encouraged about right now at this point, I've seen all 3 guys improve in doing their job. And that makes me happy. That's all you can ask for.
This might seem like a silly question, but at the Kids Day scrimmage, do you vanilla it down totally, or is it pretty much what you would do in a normal practice just because
That's not a silly question. Okay. Not at all. So the hard part is, we're in a scrimmage mentality.
Yeah.
But we're also in the 10th day of camp tomorrow. Mm-hmm. When you are in training camp, we're trying to install the offense. We're trying to evaluate players, and we're trying to build a fundamental base. So it's not like a game from the sense you're not always going out there trying to scheme everything up, right? Hey, this is great against this coverage. This is great against this front. It's not that. It's more, let's go out, let's find out if guys can play football. Let's find out if guys can block and tackle. Let's find out if quarterbacks can make the proper decisions. Let's find out if we can get open or affect the concept in the proper way. Let's see if we can cover. At the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do in kids day. You'll see some situational stuff where that's a little bit more game-like. If we're in a 2-minute situation, that's a little more game-like. If we're in a third down situation where we're doing a period, that's a little bit more game-like also, just because of the nature of the drill.
Yeah.
What?
Go ahead, John.
What was it like when young Brian Ferentz went here to camp and learned from Brett Bielema?
I got to tell you, that was a question I did not anticipate.
Throwing you a curveball.
Camp?
Yeah.
You mean like prospect camp?
Yeah, like he remembers.
Like I was in high school?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can call him Brett now, I suppose, but at the time he was Coach Bielema. And, he was a young coach on the staff. I was obviously the head coach's son, but he just always, I really appreciate Brett for a lot of reasons. I'm surprised he remembers camp. I remember camp. It was right out here. Christine Grant Field used to be up there. We stretched there and did camp there. There were rec fields here. That was the other part of camp. So this is like 1999. But I'll tell you a quick story. What I remember more about Coach Bielema, I remember being a freshman here and being on the old practice fields next to the water treatment facility behind, really where the bus station is now, and getting my ass kicked for 2.5 straight hours for the 8th week in a row. By like Derek Davison is just knocking the hell out of me. He was a backer. Derek Pickens was one of the D tackles. It was 2001. I was playing center on the scout team and being very discouraged at that point in my career, and wondering if I was good enough, and wondering if I made a really huge mistake coming to the University of Iowa. And I'll never forget walking off that field, and I understand now, 20 whatever years later, the look. I didn't understand it then, so I didn't know how Brett had noticed that I had that look, but he saw it. And I'll never forget Brett putting his arm around me as we walked back inside and just telling me, like, to hang in there, that I was doing a good job and that I was going to be all right. And at 18 years old, I needed to hear that at that moment, and I will forever be grateful, because I don't know that my football career at the University of Iowa would have turned out the way it did if Brett hadn't put his arm around me in that moment. And I think every player that's played here probably has a story like that. And some of them involve Brett, some of them involve every other coach, right? Moments like that with Reese and other guys. But at 18, I needed to hear that from somebody that had done it. And it was very meaningful to me, and it still is. And I think it speaks to what kind of person Brett is. And I think it speaks to what kind of people are here, right? And tremendous amount of respect for Brett, and very grateful for that moment. But don't remember prospect.
Coach, how do you approach, you talk about a competition at quarterback. In the spring, at least the open scrimmage, we didn't necessarily see equal snaps against equal competition, per se. So Spencer's taking the majority of the snaps against the one. How do you weigh that? Is that the same as what's happening behind closed doors? Is that just what we're seeing in open scrimmages? And how would you respond to someone that says you can't really say it's an open competition if they're not taking equal snaps against that equal competition?
Right. The answer is no. That's not what's going on behind closed doors. That's not representative. I think that speaks back to what Chad was the question. Right? What are we doing? Well, we're practicing. That's what we're doing. When we're competing, and when we're having a true position battle, or we're trying to make those evaluations, you want to do it on even footing, right? And part of that, though, doesn't always have to be who's getting reps with what. It's a very subjective deal if you're talking about talent levels or skill levels. If you're talking about execution of your job, right, whether it's your drop, your timing, your location, we're evaluating routes on air. We're not just evaluating a team period, right? We're evaluating a team period for those things too. But he can only control as a quarterback what he can control. That's what we're evaluating. But we absolutely have to make evaluations, and it goes for every position on our offense. What are you going to do, right? If we put you in there and ask you to block Noah Shannon as a right guard, that we feel like we're going to get a pretty good evaluation of where you are. If we put you in there to block Aaron Graves right now, all due respect to Aaron, who's a good player and going to be a really good player here, it's not the same evaluation. This guy's playing high school football a year ago. Noah Shannon's performing at a very high level in a very competitive conference. So, yes and no, if that answers the question. But what you see in front of closed doors is never going to be what you see behind closed doors. And I don't mean that to be coy or anything like that, but certainly what we're working on, we're not always trying to broadcast to the
Sure.
world.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the rub, right? That's what makes your guys' job a little bit harder, and that's why talking to you guys is fun.
Then we get to have talking points.
Well, I get to
be able to
pretend
criticize
like I'm
what
real smart, and
That's
I'm
right.
hiding things. We're not trying to hide anything,
Sure.
but the evaluation, you want to be fair in your evaluation.
Sure. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Question you probably were expecting.